Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could lay there next to you.
Hey friends, welcome back to our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. Thank you guys for joining us today. And if you guys haven't subscribed or liked our posts or our videos or even commented, go ahead and do that down below. So today we're going to talk about Ever After. So our trivia question for you guys today is, what was Danielle's mother's name in the movie? So a little background or box office stats. The release date was July 31st of 1998. Its budget was $26 million. Opening weekend, it only made 8.5, which with inflation is $14 million. Grossing in the U.S., it grossed basically $66 million, which with inflation is $106 million. And then worldwide, it grossed $98 million, with inflation is $157 million. So it was, again, one of those movies that didn't even make half of its budget back, which is kind of interesting. Because it was, I mean, it's a classic. Like, it's a really good movie.
Well, we talked about it earlier today. Like, why did movies have such a hard time back then making their budget? And I think we talked, and I think it's because back in the day, people didn't have as much time to go to the movie and didn't have disposable income like they do now. Mm-hmm. But now, like, it's a big thing. Like, movies are sold out, and people have time. You know, we have more time now to go to the movies. So I think that's why, even like opening weekend, a lot of these movies nowadays, like 2000 range, they can, you know, beat their budget.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I just remember the only movie that I've ever gone to the midnight showing of was one of the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about
which one, but that was the only one that I've gone to the midnight, like the opening night, basically.
Listen, guys, and that's saying something. Shelley does not stay up. I do. Shelley does not. We are so opposite.
That was in my younger years. That was when I was still in college.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I did anything then anyway, but yeah. No, only one movie have I ever been that interested in to go to. I mean, there's been a lot of movies that I've wanted to see, but I'm not brave. You know, and it was insane, the lines. I'm like, why do people do this to themselves?
Well, it's like down in Texas. Did you see where people, like, sorry, Texas, we feel for you. Mm-hmm. Like, we're in West Virginia. It's cold here all the time. Like, we totally feel you, what you're going through. 100%, we know. We get it. And we've had, here in West Virginia, in 2012, we had 2 blackouts. Like, that's the summer of 2012, the whole state went down. Our whole state was shut down because we had a derecho come through. And then
that was devastating.
Yeah, and then October of that same year, we had the Hurricane Sandy. It did hit up in New York and stuff really hard, but we got a bunch of snow down here, and it shut a lot of the state down again. I love this movie. So when we did our intro to our friendship video, like, go back and watch our first video we did. I said my favorite movie was Mean Girls. I was wrong. I'm sorry, guys. I was wrong.
See, this is in my top 5. I mean, for sure. Like, it's probably my top 2. It's between, Yeah,
this one is definitely... So I have another... I lied in that whole video because, like, I said my favorite movie was Mean Girls. I really do have another movie that I really like. I'm not going to go into it because it's a controversial movie. But Ever After is, like Shelley said, it's... Between this other movie I like and Ever After, I'd say Ever After, and then my other movie is below this. So, yes, I have, like, I need to sit down and figure out what my top 10 are. So, like, this is in my top 10 for sure. I love this movie. Like, I watched it last night, and I wanted to watch it again. Like, I wanted to go, let's just watch that again. Mm-hmm. I just can't get tired of this movie.
No, and I feel like you read, like, and there's things like after reading stuff about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally missed that. And I've only seen it like a gazillion times. Right. And I'm like, I never caught that. How did I not catch that? Like, oh, yeah. Like I don't know if you caught this. Did you catch that the pale dress that Danielle was wearing the day she visits Henry at the monastery is the exact same dress that Marguerite refused to wear because it was blue, and all the other girls are going to be wearing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the blue dress
color
is the Cinderella iconic dress too.
This is true. Which I didn't think about.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't catch that either. I read that same fact you did, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, she did. She wore that same dress that...
I didn't even pay attention. See, I don't catch stuff like that.
I don't either. And if I do, I'm so proud of myself. I'm like pat on the back type of thing. Well, like the stepmom, I just think she is jealous of Danielle because her dad tells her, I love you, and doesn't tell the stepmom. I think that's what really set this all up.
Yep, I totally agree. The more I watch it, I'm like, yep, that was the day that she started hating Danielle, and that was the day that she was going to make her life miserable from there on out. The way she looked at her when he told her that, and just the way he even turns away from her, you know what I mean? And literally looks at Danielle and kind of like shifts his head. It's like, ooh. And like the look she gives her, it's like, dang. Yeah, you can see it coming.
Right. It's just hard though. Like you cannot beat a parent's love for their child. Like that's something that you can't penetrate.
No.
Can't for me anyway. I know there's people out there that are like that, but you can't. Nobody could come in between me and my kids.
No.
There's just...
Well, he didn't even know her that long. I mean, I don't know what she would... Because I started thinking, I'm like, what did you expect? This is his daughter. Like...
Well, and back then... What? Right. Well, and back then, too, it was... You married... A lot of the time... Especially, like, you know, sometimes they can marry for love. And I'm sure that's what happened with Danielle's parents. And then her mom passed away. And so... I'm sure their marriage was a marriage of convenience. She was a single woman with children. He was a single parent with, father with a child. And let's combine our families and help each other out.
Yeah. Well, and I think for money, too, I think she had a little bit more money than him, possibly, or vice versa.
I don't know. Trying to think of, like, my favorite parts. And we talked about that, too, before all this. I just don't even know. It's so hard because...
There's too many.
Yeah, there's just this, I was thinking last night, I'm like, how can I pick my favorite part when this is my favorite movie? So as a whole, it's just my favorite, so it's kind of hard to pick. I mean, I have little parts where I'm like, I like this a little more than that, of course. I'd say overall probably is where he comes to pick her up to take her to the library, and she says, you found my weakness, but I haven't found yours. And he's like, obviously it's you. Like, he doesn't say that directly, but, he implies that it's her. I just love that part.
I don't know. I like the part where she goes to the ball and she's standing there and all of them are looking. I mean, all of the people at the ball are looking at her and she's standing there and she's just breathe. Just breathe.
I know, it's a good one too. And she's so pretty.
Yeah, I mean, she's all made up. She's, and you can tell she has everybody's attention, and it's just, I don't know. For me, it's just, and we talked about the whole scene in the woods when they get lost and he sends her up the tree to find his castle because he can't find his way back, and they run into the gypsies and they attack and yada yada, and they get him, and she kind of tackles one of them and he says, well, you can leave and you can take anything you can carry. And she's like, do I have your word on that, sir? And he's like, yeah, on my word as a gypsy. And she's like, so she picks him up, she picks Henry up and starts carrying him. I don't know why, but I like that part too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a good one. I chuckle every time. Well, man, I don't know. Maybe this is my favorite part because he's like, you swim, you save servants. What can you walk? You climb rocks. What can you not do? And she says, fly. And then we get to see her have wings. Like, there's a lot of reference to that too. Like, she says she's like, if a fish and a bird fall in love, how can they live together? And Leonardo da Vinci says, well, I have to make you wings. Mm-hmm. I just love this movie.
There's a lot of good lines like that. Like, even at the end when he goes, he asks where she's at and the sister tells her, or the stepsister tells him. And so he goes and she's walking out and she's already taken care of him, the guy that takes her herself. Like, she doesn't need him at this point. She's kind of freed herself and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I've come to save you. And she's like, me, a peasant? Or what for? Like, there's a lot of good one-liners in this too, I think.
Oh, for sure. Well, Yeah.
And there's a lot of historical references too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, King Henry VIII is referenced in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, because she's like, choose wise, because Henry's mom, she's like, choose wisely, because a divorce is only a thing they do in England. And that's referencing to King Henry VIII, who had 6 wives.
Yeah. Who caused a scandal when he divorced Catherine of Aragon to marry Anne Boleyn. Yep.
Well, then he cut her head off to marry Jane Seymour. And then she died after childbirth.
Yep.
And I think, that's funny because they keep saying that, like, I remember in school, they kept saying, oh, he killed all of his wives. Well, he only killed 2.
That's
he
true.
only killed 2 of them. So he wasn't as bad as they portrayed him to be. I love that story. I don't know. I'm just a sucker for this kind of stuff. But, like, this movie, so I have this bucket list in my head. I need to sit down and write it. But one of my bucket list is to go to a red carpet. I would love to go to a red carpet premiere. I would love to do that. And I've entered sweepstakes and things like that to go to one. So, like, I did the Hunger Game one. They had a Hunger Game one. I was like, how cool would that be to go see? And you get to watch the movie. Well, a lot of times the actors watch the movie too there. So, like, you get to see it first. You get to see the actors that played in the movie. Like, that's something on my bucket list. I'd love to be able to do that. And then I don't even care if I could have I'm in the background. I would love to be in one of these types of movies, like Bridgerton or Ever After, Tudors, Game of Thrones, anything like that.
Yeah.
I would love to wear one of those costumes. I don't care if I'm in the back feeding the pigs. Just give me a part. I'm such a sucker for these movies, these period movies.
They are good. Usually, they are. They're very good. And again, they keep to the time.
Yeah.
And this, I feel like this movie did really well keeping to that and keeping the history because, when Danielle is swimming in the lake, she's using an inverted backstroke or a brushstroke. It was a popular in the medieval Renaissance Europe, and it's still commonly taught as a survival stroke. So they even kept that up to, They even did that well. Right. Or, They kept that to the time period. Yeah. And in Australia, it's called the survival backstroke.
Yep.
Even they kind of were off with this, although Leonardo da Vinci died in 1519, and Thomas More's book Utopia, which we know Danielle gets from her dad, was first published in 1516. Drew Barrymore's character is given the book as a present when she is a child, and 10 years later, that's when she meets Da Vinci. So that's kind of interesting that they,
Yeah. Yes, I saw that too. I like that so this is a Cinderella story. And I like that. And there are they keep with the concept, they keep the base storyline. I like that Da Vinci is her godmother, her fairy godmother.
That's pretty cool.
I like that they switched that up like that. And something else they kind of changed a little bit is this. It's always the stepmom and the stepsisters, and they're all 3 evil. In this one, one of the stepsisters actually befriends Danielle and helps her. Well, she was treated just as poorly not just as, but she was treated poorly just like Danielle. So Jacqueline helps Danielle because she got whipped. And then the next thing we see, Danielle goes to meet the prince, and he goes to kiss her, and he touches her back. That scene gets me every time because she's whipped, and it's just awful.
And he doesn't know it. I think another good part is when they are facing Danielle at the very end, and he's like, Henry's like, Marguerite, I want you to meet my new wife. And Rodmilla, the stepmom, is like, Jacqueline, I hope you had nothing to do with this. And she's like, what, mother? I'm just here for the food.
Right?
Give it back to her.
Because I guess, it's looked down on if you get sent to the Americas. That's purgatory, basically.
Pretty much.
So Danielle kind of comes in and kind of saves them in a way, because she's like, all I ask is that you bestow upon them what they did to me. And so basically they became slaves in the palace.
Well, and I feel like the chemistry between the actors too is really good.
Yeah. Well, he's I I feel like he never truly grows up, though. Like, he, like, throws her to the wolves. Da Vinci tells him that. And, like, even whenever, you know, the scene where, she got hurt and he goes to kiss her and touches her back, he still doesn't get it. He still doesn't. She's trying to tell him, like, what's up, dude? Like, I'm a servant. And he just does not listen to her. And she's constantly having to open his eyes to what life really is about. Like, he keeps complaining because he's privileged. And she's like, there's so much you could change. There's so much you could do. I mean, I feel like he never wakes up to reality.
No, because even after that scene, he goes and complains to his mom because there was rumors that she was engaged. Mm-hmm. And so he's complaining to her and saying how she darn well should have told him. And she, like you said, I mean, she did have something to tell him. She was trying to tell him. It wasn't necessarily that. Mm-hmm. And even when she went to the ball and she's like, I must stay before another word spoken. I have to talk to you. And he wouldn't listen. Like I agree. He wouldn't let her talk then either. Because that whole scene could have been avoided if he would have just listened to her then. They could have done it quietly. But no, he, like you said, fed her to the wolves. And he did. Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny how Da Vinci kind of scolds him like he's, Yeah,
because his own father ain't doing it.
Well, according to them, anything's better than Spain, except a commoner, apparently.
Right. I like that they keep the glass slipper in the story.
Yes.
Well,
I am too. I think that's important. That's an important part.
Yeah, because if you're going to do a Cinderella story, you definitely cannot leave the glass slipper out.
No, and it's different. I mean, because like you said, they changed it because he didn't go look at. I mean, he knew who she was. Well, he didn't know, but obviously he didn't have to try on the shoe on everybody's foot to find out the match.
Yeah. Well, this is just I feel like this is a more realistic take on the folktale because they, one of Danielle's lineage, I guess this is maybe her great granddaughter or something that's telling the story. Because in the very beginning, they go to see somebody, and she was like, "I don't like how you told Cinderella."
Yep.
And so she kind of sets them straight. Yeah. And I like that they did that. I like that they showed that at the beginning, and you never seen any more narration at the rest of the movie. Because a lot of times they'll narrate through the movie, and they didn't do that, and I really appreciated that. And and then we get to see it again at the end. And she's in the castle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's in that, they leave that castle, and it's the same castle.
Yep. Well, and they show the painting. The painting is still there that Leonardo did of her. Just that Drew Barrymore stated that this is her favorite of all her films. Which, I mean, I think that says a lot.
Right.
To me. Because think about how many, she's had a long career. She's done a lot of stuff. And for her to say that this was her favorite film, a lot of good stuff. So for her to say that this was her favorite, or you know what I mean, of all her films, that says a lot to me.
I don't blame you one bit, Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
You got to be in those costumes, and it's a good movie. Yeah, that's a good one. So we could talk about her again because, like we said, the 22nd was her birthday. Happy birthday again. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about, in the last video, and I can put a card in the corner, whichever one. I figured out how to put where I can link other videos we've done. So I'll link the other video we did on Drew Barrymore. I'll link it in the corner here for you. And then you can just click on it when you're done and go back and watch if you haven't got a chance to watch the video. So anyway, so we did E.T., and that was a childhood movie of hers, and we did this one. This is more of an adult one that she did, and we're going to now talk about her adult career. Mm-hmm. So she actually, she couldn't, so we left off where she was at 14, was in rehab, couldn't get a job. And so she just kind of had to prove herself and get back in the game, and what she did. And her and a friend, I can't remember her name, actually did their own like little studio thing. And the first movie that she ever produced was Never Been Kissed. So we leave off with last video, See You in the Morning, Far From Home. She was in that. Motorama, Poison Ivy, Waxwork 2, Lost in Time, Sketch Artist. A lot of these I've never heard of. 2000 Malibu Road, Gun Crazy, No Place to Hide, The Roots of Roe, Doppelganger, The Amy Fisher Story, Wayne's World, Bad Girls, Inside the Gold Mine, Boys on the Side, Mad Love, Batman Forever. We got to do the Batman movies. She was Sugar. She's in the one with
She was in Batman Returns, I think, right? Isn't that the one that George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell, where there's Batman and Robin and
Jim Carrey.
Alicia Silverstone? Yeah.
Yeah, that one's Batman Forever. Was that? Everyone Says I Love You. She was in Scream. She was Casey. Best Men. Wishful Thinking. These, now we're starting to get into the ones you probably know. The Wedding Singer, The Larry Sanders Show, Ever After, A Cinderella Story, Home Fries, Never Been Kissed, Olive, The Other Reindeer. I feel like I've heard that one. Skipped Parts, Titan AE, Charlie's Angels, The Simpsons, Donnie Darko, Freddie Got Fingered, which she married him, Tom Green.
Yeah, that was short-lived, I think, though, right?
Yeah, so she's been married several times. Her first marriage only lasted, I think it was shorter than Kim Kardashian's marriage to Chris Humphries. So she had a short-lived marriage too. And then Tom Green, it was like 160 some days or something she was married to him. And that was during when he had that cancer.
Well, and that's when her house caught fire. The house she was with him. She married him twice. She married Tom Green twice, first eloping in the South Pacific in March of 2001, then on July 7th of 2001 before family and friends in a ceremony, Malibu, California. She and Tom Green then honeymooned in Ireland.
All right, so Riding in Cars with Boys, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, Charlie's Angels, it's a video game, Duplex, 51st States, Beaver Pitch, Curious George, Saturday Night Live, Music and Lyrics, Lucky You, Beverly Hills Chihuahua. I remember that. He's Just Not That Into You. That's a good one.
That is a good one. That's how she met. I think that's how she met Justin Long, isn't it? Because she married him. Did she marry him?
I don't know.
I know they were together. I know they were going out or whatever.
Grey Gardens, Whip It, Everybody's Fine, Going the Distance, Best Coast Ordeal, Big Miracle, Family Guy, The Quest for Stuff, Blended, Miss You Already, Odd Mom Out, The Daily Show, Santa Clarita Diet, and The Stand. The Stand is her most recent. She was married. The longest marriage she had was the most recent guy. They were married for 4 years. I took it that they fought a lot because she was in an interview talking about the Santa Clarita Diet, and she said that she would do the show, but she just didn't want the spouses to fight. And they said, oh no, there won't be any fighting. Because she's like, I lived with fighting for 4 years. I don't want to fight anymore. But that show actually ended in 2019. It only lasted for 2 years and had 30 episodes. And Bodie and I started watching that one. She's a zombie. She somehow got a virus and starts eating people.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
And now she has her own YouTube channel, just like us. So we have something in common with Drew Barrymore. It's called The Drew Barrymore Show, if you want to go and watch it. And I watched a couple episodes of it, and it's really good. Of course, she has Cameron Diaz on there. Lucy Liu? Yeah, she had her on there. Adam Sandler, which her and Adam Sandler are really close because they've done many movies together. All right, so Shelley earlier in the episode asked you a question. Did you answer in the comments? I probably wouldn't have because I wouldn't even know how to spell the name. I'd have to Google it. I'm a horrible speller. Anyway, she said, what was Danielle's mother's name? And it is Nicole Dioloncre.
Yes, good job.
Okay. I'm horrible. I am so West Virginian, it's not even funny. I cannot speak at all. Tony's always making fun of me. At least I don't say wash or I don't say wash. I say wash. What's some other one? Far.
Poosh. Poosh.
Oh, my brother. Yeah, he used to say poosh.
I say fur. Fur all the time for four.
Oh.
I do it more often than not. I'm so bad about that.
Yeah, my family says far instead of fire.
Oh, well.
we go start the fire. And I'm like, the what? The fire? You mean the fire? My mom will go to the house or something and she'll go, can you wash the wait, mom will say, will you wash the dishes for me? I'm like, no, but I'll wash the dishes for you. Okay. So that was Ever After and Drew Barrymore's later on career. We talked a little bit and touched on a little bit of that. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for chit-chatting with us. We love talking about this stuff, especially when we're really passionate about the movie and the actors that are in it. But, yep, I am Tiffany. This is my BFFF Shelley. Join us next time, friends, for another great episode.